If you grew up anytime between the late 1970s and the early 2000s, you owned one, or your best friend did, or you saw them hanging in the blister packs from the checkout aisle at Kmart. You know the ones, those single game handhelds with static pre-printed background artwork, the fixed segmented LCD screens and sound effects that sounded like a dying alarm clock. They were cheap, everywhere, and famously, frustrating. This is the story of how a small family-owned business in Illinois accidentally rode the wave of the 1970s microchip boom, survived the greatest video game crash in history, and turned extreme hardware limitations into a billion-dollar empire. This is the story of Tiger Handhelds. Tiger Electronics was founded in 1975 by Gerald Risman, his wife Arnolda, and his brother Randy in Vernon Hills, Illinois. In the beginning, they weren't trying to make video games, mostly because handheld electronic video games barely existed. No, instead, Tiger manufactured low-cost consumer electronics, portable phonographs, children's cassette players, digital clocks, and novelty radio sets. Their biggest early hit came in 1977 when they snagged a license from rock giants Kiss to produce a portable record player. The Kiss phonograph featured a built-in speaker, vibrant band graphics, and cost a fraction of a full stereo system. It became a massive bestseller among teenagers and proved to the Risman brothers that pop culture licensing was their golden ticket. They were a budget manufacturer operating on slim margins, an industry about to undergo a seismic shock. You see, in 1977, Mattel Electronics released Mattel Football. It didn't use an LCD screen or even pixels, just tiny red LED dots moving across a plastic field. It was a massive runaway hit. Suddenly, every toy company in America realized kids wanted to interact with their toys, and microchips were cheap enough to put into those toys. The Risman brothers looked at Mattel's success and made a pivotal choice. Tiger was pivoting to silicon. By the late 70s, Tiger entered the electronic game market with simple LED games. Their first major hit was Copycat in 1979, their take on Milton Bradley Simon. To stand out, though, Tiger started experimenting with vacuum fluorescent displays, or VFDs. Unlike primitive LEDs, VFD screens could display bright, vibrant neon green and orange graphics. They were gorgeous, but they had two massive flaws. One, they consumed batteries like crazy, often required those giant 4C or D batteries that you see. They were also expensive to manufacture and super fragile. While companies like Coleco and Entex were building bulky, expensive desktop arcade units, Tiger realized the future wasn't in bright battery-hugging tabletop machines, it was in liquid crystal displays, LCDs. In 1980, Nintendo launched the Game & Watch series in Japan. Engineered by Gunpei Yokoi, the genius of Yokoi's design was using cheap, mass-produced digital watch and calculated liquid crystal displays. Yokoi reportedly got the idea while sitting on the Japanese metro going to and from work, watching salarymen play with their calculators, just adding and subtracting and doing maths on the calculators instead of just sitting on the train. He realized they would literally rather be doing anything else and looking at their calculator than just sitting there. So he got an idea. Here's how it worked. The screen wasn't a grid of pixels like modern phone or video game systems. Instead, every single frame of animation was a fixed, pre-drawn segment baked directly into the glass. Turn an element on, it turns black. Turn it off, it disappears. Then, the North American video game crash hit in 1983. Home console giants like Atari, Coleco, and Mattel went up in flames. Retailers refused to stock expensive home video game cartridges, and the industry went into freefall. According to historical industry data, total US home console game market revenue cratered by nearly 97%, dropping from $3.2 billion in 1982 to under $100 million by 1985. Yet, while console makers collapsed, Tiger Electronics was quietly printing money. Why? Because a $30 Atari cartridge required a $200 console and a TV. A Tiger LCD game cost $10 to $15, ran on 2-button cell watch batteries for 100 hours, and was sold hanging on pegs in department stores next to board games and action figures. Retailers who refused to touch video games were eager to stock Tiger's budget LCD items. By the late 1980s, Tiger was pulling in over $40 million annually in sales, and by the early 1990s, annual revenue soared past $200 million. By the mid-1980s, Tiger discovered their true superpower: aggressive licensing. While Nintendo created original characters for their Game & Watch, Tiger realized kids didn't just want a generic sports or maze game. They wanted RoboCop, Terminator, Street Fighter, Jurassic Park, and Disney. When Disney's The Little Mermaid blew up in 1989, Tiger didn't just make one handheld, or two handhelds and call it a day. They churned out 3 separate distinct Little Mermaid handheld games 3 years in a row, reskinning the same core sprite jumping mechanics into new plastic shells to ensure they caught every single wave of holiday sales. In 1992, Tiger's licensing mastery led to one of the more bizarre success stories in their toy history, the Talkboy. When writer John Hughes was scripting Home Alone 2 Lost in New York, he needed a cool gadget for Kevin McAllister to use to fool hotel staff. He approached Tiger Electronics to design a futuristic voice recorder prop for the movie. At first, the Talkboy was strictly a movie prop that didn't exist in stores, but after the film smashed box office records, millions of kids flooded toy stores asking for Kevin's voice recorder. Tiger scrambled, struck a deal with 20th Century Fox, and engineered a working commercial version in 1993, complete with a variable pitch control slider. It became the #1 selling toy of the 1993 holiday season, completely selling out nationwide and cementing Tiger as a master of movie tie-in electronics. It didn't matter that the gameplay was wildly primitive, it didn't matter that Gauntlet on Tiger LCD was just a moving black silhouette across 3 fixed lanes. The packaging had the official art, the casing was molded into cool futuristic shapes, and it fit in a school backpack. And you figure it'd be all over with the Game Boy, but even when Nintendo released the revolutionary interchangeable cartridge Game Boy in 1989, Tiger didn't completely die out. They positioned themselves as the budget impulse buy alternative. If your parents couldn't buy you an $89 Game Boy and a $30 game, they were more likely to buy you a $12 Tiger Batman handheld at Walmart to keep you quiet on a long car trip. By the late 1990s, Hasbro acquired Tiger Electronics for $335 million, eventually phasing out the classic LCD line as full-colored handhelds like the Game Boy Advance took over. But fast forward to 2020, and Hasbro shocked the retro gaming community by officially bringing back the Tiger Electronics LCD line. Priced around $15, these recreation units landed on store shelves at Target, Walmart, and Amazon, complete with the exact same pre-printed background art, mono sound effects, and 2-frame LCD animations. Why re-release a fundamentally primitive technology in an era of smartphones and OLED screens? Pure nostalgia. Millennials who grew up in the late 80s and 90s were buying them as desk novelties or introducing them to their own kids as a piece of living video game history. Tiger Electronics started as a humble 1970s manufacturer of plastic phonographs and pocket radios, but by recognizing the power of cheap microprocessors, dodging the 1983 crash, and masterclass licensing, they dominated an entire era of childhood culture. They weren't high tech, they weren't high art, but for millions of kids sitting in the backseat of a station wagon in the 80s and 90s, those weird little plastic games were pure magic. What was the first Tiger Electronics handheld you ever owned? Let me know in the comments below. For me, it was actually 2 of them. One Christmas I got myself Double Dragon and Gauntlet. They were both terrible, but I loved them because I had Double Dragon in my hand and Gauntlet, one of my favorite games on the Commodore 64 at the time, that I can play by my nightlight in my bed without having my parents know that I was sitting there playing video games. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe, and please let everyone know if you enjoy this channel.